What is up, anglers? We are back. It's California Fishing News, and it is February 21st. Super stoked this week because of what happened last week. The bluefin showed back up. If you've watched it, the other episodes this year, you know we looked at temp break a few weeks ago, and we mentioned it could happen anytime. There's clean water out there, and there's plenty of bait, and it looks like people are finally on them, and the news is out. So really excited to talk about all that this week. Before we get into it, remember it's on YouTube as well as all the podcast platforms. So subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Tell your friends. Thank you very much. Let's get into it. 6 days ago, Weston Bryant, who's captain of Into the Depth Sport Fishing, made this post on Instagram saying, first offshore check of the 2020 season resulted in a handful of opportunities on bluefin. This photo of Evan Salve, another pretty well-known local captain, with a nice, I don't know, they're really good at angles here, but it's a 50-pound class, maybe more, bluefin. A couple days later, the Balboa Angling Club made this post. First tuna weighed in at the Balboa Angling Club this year. Let's get this year rolling. This was a 53-pound bluefin caught on 30-pound test and on bait. And this was on February 16th. After that, now it broke up to the internet. Everybody knew. Apparently, the first ones were caught January 29th. A guy got 6 of them, but they kept it on the down low for about 2 weeks, which doesn't really surprise me. When this early season stuff's really close to home, people, they don't like to talk about it too much when it first happens, because this number, soon as you get a number of boats on it, they do start to shut down a little bit. That being said, people know now it's out there. Bluefin are there to be caught. One of the places I found good reports to some of this intel is on jdsbiggame.com. JD's Big Game Tackle. It's a tackle shop, and he does his fish report. This is now Friday. Thursday, there was no real report on his site about this stuff. Wednesday, there was people out there not seeing much, but he did get an email from a guy going over to the island on trip on Sunday. He said about 6 to 7 miles out, we ran across a ton of bait, and crashing on it were what we thought were porpoise, but were a mix of porpoise and tuna. They dropped some jigs on them. They didn't have any bait, but they didn't get any bites. The other day, the fish were in the off-colored dirty water. That's where the bait was. Too hard to slow troll a bait without getting it all fouled up in the grass, but that's where the fish were. We'll take a look at temp break in a second here, but basically the fish in this early season, it doesn't seem like they're really relating to a certain high spot or structure. They move around a lot, and you never really know when or where they'll pop up. Often they'll pop up with a certain tide. It could be a slack tide or on the high tide. That's going to change. You just got to pay attention and look at all the reports. I haven't been able to see a real pattern yet, but again, there's not a ton of reports being out there. The day before, on Tuesday's report, there were some people that were getting a lot of hookups. Some guys got bit on the slow troll, 1152, bluefin off Newport, 5 miles off the beach. They're popping up here or there, but hard to get on, too fast to get on. One guy had a 70, 80-pound fish to color 3 times and pulled the hook. That was at 1 p.m. So it seems like on Tuesday, it was around 12 to 1 p.m., right around midday, they were going. Another guy got one hanging around 1:30. Another guy went 0 for 2, broke one off, chewed us off. He was 30-pound leader. One guy did get a 70, 80-pounder. So it sounds like they're anywhere from 20 up to 80 pounds for what we've seen now. Don't get too excited, though. I mean, it is really exciting that they're here, but if it's anything like the past few years, this early season stuff is honestly sometimes more frustrating to fish for until you do be successful and get one. They're keyed in on a lot of anchovy and microbait. They can be very, very hard to get a bite. Well, my go-to when it's like that is to fish a small cold sniper, because it seems to match the bait the best. However, there's been some caught on bait, and when you say bait, it's generally sardine or mackerel, not on little tiny bait. And Evan's been getting a few on the big surface iron. There's also one caught on a stick bait. So you never know. You just got to find the foamers, get a cast in. Or another tactic that JD talked about, if it's anything like the last years, if you're in a spot or an area that's good, there's a lot of bait, and they keep popping up here or there, but you can't get on them, it can make some sense to start a chum line, do some chunks, and throw out some chunks on really light wire hooks, and just let them sit there and drift, throw out a couple live baits as well, and you never know. If they're cruising around, maybe they'll come up and eat it, and that can be more effective if you can't get on them and get within casting range. Good news for the year is Bill Kavanaugh posted in the Facebook SoCal Sport Fishing Club page. He said he just checked in with Ted Dunn. The Bluefin senior fleet has already met their quota for this year. This is 1 month sooner than last year. Good news for our sport fishing fleet. It's great news because the seniors get on these fish and they get extra boat shy, even more than normal. So now that they've got their quota filled, they'll back off the fish, and hopefully they start calming down and they get a little more catchable. Next, we'll take a look at temp break. Again, if you're just listening to this, I show this stuff on the video that's going to be on YouTube, or just go to tempbreak.com. You can do all this yourself. But if you look at the sea surface temp, the 3-day composite, it's heating up there. 60-degree water, 61, even some little pockets of 62-degree water off of the ocean side. This bluefin has been reported everywhere from south of the border all the way up to Newport, from 2 miles off the beach to 20 miles off the beach. So it's a big, wide area to look. If you look at the chloro, it's mainly really clean water out there. There is a little bit of green water up off of Dana and Newport Beach towards the 14-mile bank, and that's where some of those fish were seen earlier in the week. But they'll also be in the blue water. They'll honestly be wherever the bait is. So if you're going out and you're not seeing anything, if you do meter big chunks of bait, sometimes on the finder it'll look like you have the bottom at like 100 feet. It's just huge lines of bait there. Sometimes you just gotta power down, sit and idle for a while, and wait for the tide to get right for them to actually pop up. But like I said, this can be very frustrating fishing. It's not guaranteed by any means. Most people are going to go out and not even see anything, and the ones who do see them, a lot of them aren't going to catch anything, but it's exciting that it's there. Another site I'm going to show real quick, this is earth.nullschool.net. It shows currents, breaks, water temps, a little bit of everything. I'm not super experienced with this site, but it's pretty cool to look at. So if you go and go check it out, or I'll link it in the description, but it shows the currents and kind of where this warm water is coming from. So it looks like down off Guadalupe, there's some little warm water to the south, a little cold bubble above that, and then some warm water above that. What you really need is to see that warm water all the way through, and that will allow those yellowfin to push back up. I mean, we're seeing 62-degree water, and last fall we were catching those big yellowfin in 63-degree water. So it's not crazy for them to show. I mean, they probably won't show for another few months. It's been June for them to kind of the first ones to be seen pretty often the past few years, but you really never know. You just gotta wait for those currents to kind of connect through. Boom, that's it for the bluefin offshore stuff we'll talk about this week. Just, there's been a report. One guy made a report on Facebook and on Bloody Decks. He went out, he saw him for 2 hours up, made some really well-placed casts, didn't get anything to go. That's probably going to be the most common story for the next few months, but at least you have something to be exciting about. Next topic we'll talk about is the halibut fishing. There's not any real change there. The halibut are still being caught. I'm still seeing plenty of nice legals caught inshore and a bunch of shorts caught from the surf. But the only change I'd say is, well, if you're going to sit down out there and drift for halibut, bring your binoculars, because you never know when just a couple miles outside you might see those bluefin pop up. For winter yellowtail, again, not a huge change there either. Besides, there was one caught on the dolphin the half day. So they went out and they saw them going under birds, and there was a lot of bonito mixed in with some yellows, and they at least landed this one. Looks like a really nice grade 20-pound yellowtail. So again, not wide open by any means, but there are some winter yellowtail to be caught if you're out there paying attention and looking around. Speaking of other kind of pelagics, bonito, I've seen bonito reported at Catalina all the way up to Santa Barbara and down off San Diego. So that can be really fun fishing. They are really good to eat. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. If you take care of them, they're delicious. So that could be fun thing to do this time of year as well. Generally, they'll go wide open in little metal jigs. They pull really hard. They're great fish to hand to a kid and let them feel like what a real fish feels like to pull. And yeah, I love catching bonito. It's a lot of fun. Well, let's talk about surf fishing now. Went a little out of order there, but that's all right. Surf fishing hasn't been any real change. If you've listened to the past few episodes, surf fishing's been good, with big perch being caught all the way from San Diego up to the Central Coast. A lot of short halibut being caught. There's a few corvina and yellowfin croaker being caught every week as well, and even some stripers being caught up towards Pismo Beach, Monterey, Central California. So winter surf fishing, it's not going to be generally wide open for people. You might catch fewer fish, but the ones you do get are bigger quality. So I'm going to be doing some surf fishing next week. Hopefully I've got some more exciting stuff to report to you guys firsthand. Moving on, party boats. Again, party boats, there's not going to be really any change until next weekend when Rockfish opens. However, the biggest thing I saw this past couple weeks was the sand dab fishing going off. Hooks Landing had a boat go out on Sunday, one boat with 32 anglers. They caught 6,000 sand dab. Hooks Landing's out of Oxnard. They seem to kind of specialize in this time of year. They've had other days they caught 33,000, 2,800, 3,500. So if it's something you've never experienced and you want to go get a whole bunch of fish to eat and share, those little sand dabs are delicious. It's an option for you. Besides that, the exciting stuff is the 3/4 day boats are heading back to the islands this weekend. San Diego was going to run tomorrow, Saturday, and they decided, they posted on Instagram, doesn't really make sense to make their first run of the year on the only bad weather day of the week, so they're heading out Sunday instead. I know some of the other boats, Mission Bell was scheduled to run Saturday. I'm not sure if they still will hold off to Sunday. Speaking of weather, it doesn't look like it's terrible weather Saturday, but there's a little storm coming through. This is the synopsis for the far southern California coast. In the San Diego area. Weak flow over the area will produce generally light and variable winds. Friday, a low pressure storm system will bring showers Friday night through Saturday with a slight chance of thunderstorms late Friday night through Saturday morning. Weak onshore flow will follow Sunday and Monday. Saturday, it's just wind southwest for 10 knots, gust to 15 knots. Wind waves 2 feet or less. The swells 1 to 3 feet at 14 seconds. Really, really minor. That honestly doesn't look bad at all. In fact, that might even be considered good weather for winter. Many places in the world, but compared to what we've been having in our 70-degree Southern California weather, it is just going to be a little nastier than that. After that, though, it looks great for the remainder of the week. A little bit of swell building on the offshore towards San Clemente Island, some 4 to 7 foot swells coming through Tuesday, but the inshore stuff, it looks okay. It does look like there's some more swell building in from Saturday, only 1 to 3 feet. Sunday 3 to 4 feet, and then by Tuesday 4 to 5 feet of swell. So a little bit of swell out there, but not bad. Depends on the period. It really shouldn't be bad at all for fishing. Speaking of San Clemente Island, I did just see a report that there's a bunch of squid boats out there. So if there's squid at the island, you know there's generally game fish around too. Again, not many reports of white sea bass. That doesn't mean they're not being caught or speared. People just don't talk about them much. So keep an eye out, and if you ever feel like making a run, if you got a chance to go out to the island, you never know what can happen out there. That's it for saltwater this week. We'll talk about freshwater briefly. Not a real change there either, besides, the trout fishing's been good throughout the state and continues to be good. But I want to talk about largemouth briefly. I don't talk about largemouth specifically, but it looks like the prespawn's kicking in again. Hopefully this little system doesn't mess them up too much Saturday, because in late winter, early spring, 1-2 bad weather days can really kind of halt their progress moving up in their spawning stage. But guys are getting them 5 to 15 feet of water, 5 to 10 feet of water. Still some out deeper, of course. They generally spawn in waves. They're not all going to spawn at once, but it sounds like guys are getting them better than they were in the winter. Exciting stuff. I'm also going to be doing a good bit of largemouth fishing next week, so hopefully I'll have more reports there as well. Even though they are moving up shallow, the one report I saw about the San Diego area, there's a couple, but the thing I noticed the most is they were still catching them moving their baits real slow. It is still pretty early. We're having the 70-degree days, but the water temp might still only be 53, 54, 55, hopefully up to 60 in the afternoon in the days. But don't think if you're throwing out a drop shot and you're working it real quick and not getting bit, you just got to slow down. Slow down with everything. Slow down with the glide bait, slow down with a lot of stuff. They're hitting stuff on the paws and on the dead stick. So even though it is pre-spawn, they're coming up and they're looking fat. You gotta work it a little bit slow. Boom, that's it. Catch of the week. I just wanted to show Evan here, Evan Salve. He posted this a couple days ago. Connected on good grade lure fish 3 trips in a row. Winding into a 7X fed February tuna. 7X is, of course, a big surface iron. About as satisfying as it gets. It's just nice to know he went out 3 days and caught 3 fish, which is pretty cool because, reminds us that it is possible, us mere mortals. Obviously, they're good. They're out there a lot. They probably have good binos. They've got good casting skills. They've got everything. They do it a lot. But it is possible, so don't lose hope. There was I think it was 2016, I went out 7 times chasing tuna in this early season like this and never got a bite. On the 8th trip, though, I landed 2 tuna, including a 70-pound bluefin. So it can happen. Just you got to keep putting your time in. Boom, that's it for this week, guys. I'm stoked. I'm kind of taking next week off, and I'm going to be staying with my parents. who live in San Diego and spending a lot of time fishing. So I might release an episode next week. Depends on what's going on and how much I'm fishing. But if not, the week after, I'm really excited because it'll be beginning of March. We'll have some rockfish reports. We'll have more coverage of all the boats going out to San Clemente and going out to Catalina. So everyone will be making that round a lot more often and getting more eyes to see those tuna. And I'll have a lot of first-hand reports because I'm planning on fishing as much as I can next week. That's it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Tell your friends, and I'll be back either next week or in March for the next California fishing news.